What's good? It's your boy Chris Fury. I'm here with my man Kevin W. Reese, aka K-Dub. I'm in the building 2012 NEMS Music Seminar. If you're not here, you need to be here. And if not, then we're going to see you next year.
Kevin W. Reese.
It's been a while since I interviewed you, man.
Two years, man. I've been waiting for my return.
How do you think, let's focus on Connecticut for a second. How has Connecticut changed in the last 2 or 3 years? New England Music Seminar is 5 years old now. So how have things changed in the last 2 or 3 years, you think?
I think that the artists get it a little more now. Like, it's becoming second nature to them to kind of learn about the music and kind of understand what's going on. When this started 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of people didn't understand the smaller things in the business. But now that people continue to come here and the artists get a little better and the music is getting a little better, I think everybody's kind of starting to catch up with the rest of New England or New York or Boston. So I think the scene has gotten much better. We still need a lot of work, but it's gotten a lot better in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I think people are starting to understand how things work a little more. However, you know, the new rating system, PPM, for radio, that completely changed the game. How do you think that's changed unsigned artists trying to get radio play?
I mean, PPM has had a big effect on a lot of independent artists. I mean, it's made the top 20 or 30 artists that much bigger, but it's took everybody after that and made them a little bit smaller. I mean, PPM is tough because it's portable people meter for people who don't really know what it is. I mean, it shows that people like their favorite songs more and more and more. But, you know, if I'm driving a car and I hear a Rihanna record and I keep it on, and then the next record I hear Jim Jones record and I turn it off, doesn't mean I don't like the record. It may mean I got a female in the car, she don't want to hear that. It may mean that I got Jim Jones' album and I just listened to it. It may mean I'm just not in the mood for that. So it gives some false readings, but it makes the bigger artists bigger. How
does it affect the unsigned artists, though?
It kills us. I mean, it probably takes away, I'd say per station, anywhere between 80 to 200 spins a week. Because you take an artist like a Rihanna or a Jay-Z who was getting 70 or 80 spins a week, and now they're getting 120 spins. So if you take 10 artists and give them 40 spins each extra a week, that's 400 a month. And
in the unsigned artists, a lot of them, they don't understand that they're not so much competing with each other for airplay. They're competing with Red Cafe. Yeah, they're competing with French Montana.
Absolutely.
You know?
I mean, listen, when Mook and Fair, we went around the country and we were going for ads with our single, and our ads were going in the same day as Sean Kingston and Ray J and Snoop and Chris Brown. So it's not you're competing with the industry. You're not competing with the person that's in New Britain or in Hartford or New Haven. You're competing with everybody as a whole. It doesn't really matter who you are if you're going to go and get to that level. But a lot, again, like you said, people don't really realize what research was or what PPM is. I mean, I still talk every day like PPM, and they're like, what's PPM? So
they need to know what PPM is.
Yeah, and it's very
you can't sit here and complain about radio and not know what PPM is.
It affected Mook and Fair. I mean, you look at Who's Your Daddy was at the point where you were still researching. Right after Who's Your Daddy, PPM occurred. And now with the second record that we had with Ray J with Sidekick, we got up to 300 spins a week. But we were getting exactly what we should have been getting. There wasn't any extended love, extended spins. You know what I'm saying? Like, even with, say, Buck put the record in, the record was doing well. But if it doesn't PPM, it doesn't PPM. Now the stations are going strictly on numbers. It doesn't really have to do with anything else besides a computer they get back in a reading. And Buck and every other PD is getting those readings from their corporate boss. So a lot of the PDs don't have any say in what they want to play anymore.
I wish that some artists would understand that they don't need the radio. No. And go that independent route and understand that their Twitter and their YouTube is that much more important, because that's how you're going to make the money. Getting on World Star Hip Hop or Vlad TV or one of these blogs, Two Dope Boys, what have you, is bigger than getting a record on Hot 93.7, is it not?
Absolutely. I mean, your listening ship, number one, is way broader. And number two, you look at a guy like French or like a Red Cafe, those guys, the reason they're on the radio is because of their Twitter and their Facebook and their YouTube. There's no other reason. Frenchie has been trying to get a record on radio for 5-6 years and could never, ever do it. But now that he's finally got that following, it all comes with it. So that stuff is even more important. And it makes, again, Hot 93, you get one spin, you may get 20 to 25,000 listeners. You get one video on Now Right or World Star, you get 25, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000, and you get them from around the world, not just here.
If you build it, they will come. If you have that buzz and you have the right records, radio is going to chase you. What do you think about, because we've talked obviously off air, I guess we'll call this air, about Chris Webby, right? Years ago, right? 2, 3, 4 years ago. What do you think about what he's doing to the game right now?
I think what Chris is doing is amazing. I mean, he's got a general fan base who believes in what he does and what he says. And again, it goes back to it. You look at Young Jeezy, his fans like him because they believe in what he's saying and what he's doing. Chris, his fans believe that he plays Nintendo and Donkey Kong, and I believe in him. Like I really think he's taken that area by storm, and he's done something that Connecticut's never seen. You know, he's never, and again, the radio station playing his records, they're reaching out to him. They're playing records in just.
Buck is in his office waiting
for a single.
Waiting for a single. Like when Chris Webby drops a single that's radio worthy, you're going to hear it maybe every hour because his buzz is so beyond anything Connecticut has ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, look, you know, whether you're a Webby or you're a Mukenfir or you're a signed artist, if the station is playing you, you have something that they want. You know, whether it's a major label behind you or whether it's your social media sites or whether it's people calling and listening, they're playing you for a reason. It's not just because. They don't just put people on the radio. Radio is a privilege at this point in the game. You know, and that's because of the way the music game has changed. But I mean, take it from Webby, man, and get a fan base. Like, get some really, really fans. I'll give you, for instance, I went to the Hip Hop Awards a couple of weeks ago. It was run okay. There was 20, 30 artists who were in there. A lot of them deserved the awards, some didn't. But what it really came down to is that there was 30 artists nominated, and there was 300 people in the building. So that means that those artists averaged 10 fans apiece.
That's, dude, hey, look, this is my thing. If anyone ever comes up to me and they're like, you know, I got this buzz or whatever, my first response is, okay, call Toad's Place, okay, book the date, book it a few months in advance so you got some time, okay, and do your own show. And I want to see how many people show up. That is the key to who's got the biggest buzz. And Chris Webby sold out Toad's Place 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, listen, App, Mukenfir, whoever it is, there's very few people that have a really true fan base, and I don't mean a fan base who like just appreciates your music. People have to want to buy your shirt and buy your music and pay that money to go see a show. It's the same thing. You look at a lot of South, the Racks on Racks, YC, or those artists have great radio records. YC had a #1 record. I brought him here to Connecticut, paid him $5,000, 80 people showed up.
That's.
So you know, just having a record on the radio, it makes people aware of you, but doesn't mean that people believe in you and buy your product. Like, that has nothing to do with it. Whatever Webby is doing, his fan base, whether it's 12 or it's 22, they believe in his product.
You know, I think the best example is Joe Budden. I think Joe Budden is the one that developed the blueprint. He was like the first one to start streaming. He's the first one to like really start interacting because he had no choice. So in doing that in 06, 07, whenever it was, he laid down the blueprint, a blueprint that now Chris Webby is using, whether he knows it or not. You know, and all they have to do is just follow that blueprint.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same thing. You look at a guy like Buttons, and he stayed the same. He remained with his fan base, and now you have Eminem reaching out to him as a group, and him being the co-anchor on a huge group right now. Radio stations playing Slaughterhouse records that normally would never get played on radio, and you hear that now. There's a lot of records on radio that would never, ever, ever get played 2-3 years ago, but based on their social buzz and based on their fan base, they're going to play that record, because if people are going to call and request that record, they're going to play it.
What do you think that the open mics and such are important for the artists, or are they just spinning their wheels? Like where does the open mics and the award shows, like, where does that fit in, and where does New England Music Seminar fit in? Like, what should be the priorities with these unsigned artists?
I mean, NEMS is completely different than any of those scenarios. NEMS is they really concentrate on giving the consumer or the artist or the DJ real hard info and coming out of here. Like I do business with 10, 15, 20 people every year that I met here. Open mics are good. I would never say not to go to them, but to do them at a local spot, or there's not really a grand prize, or at some point you have to step up from that. I mean, it's good to battle, it's good to be out there, but you know, you kind of have to go to the next level, and that's coming to a conference like this. And here, okay, there may be a beat battle in Hartford next week, but you come here and you meet Jay Hatch. Now there's a beat battle in Miami. Now there's a beat battle in New York City with some real presence, not with, you know, so-and-so is going to be in the building and sponsored by so-and-so. I mean, if you're going to do those type of things, just find the right ones.
Freak is here. He's has records with Jay-Z. Amadeus is here. He just got a record. He just got a record placed with Chris, Justin Bieber. I don't know if you heard that. Obviously, you just did. But so there's some important people here. But the open mics, they are still good. It's a good starting point, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you always have to perfect your craft, learn how to be on a mic, learn how to cuff the mic, learn how to move across the stage, and you're going to get the crowd reaction. I just say that once you do 10, 15, 20, it's time to now go to the next level, which is maybe going to a different city to do the open mics, or maybe looking for open mics that are put together by labels instead of just a promoter.
Do you think that Hot 93.7 and Buck, you know, being the program director of Hot 93.7, do you think that they catch a bad rap for not playing enough local artists or unsigned artists?
I think they would catch a really bad rap about not playing enough, but to keep it 100, they play more than most of the country. You take away like Atlanta and you take away Miami and maybe like a New York City, Hot 93 plays a lot of local records. They play every mix show, you're going to hear 2 or 3 per hour. That doesn't happen in a lot of other markets. Hot plays too much local music. I mean, and that's in my opinion, and not because people out here aren't deserving of it, but when you put those type of records and you play them on the radio and they don't match with a Joe Budden's record or a Mook and Fair record or a Far City record or a Jay-Z record, it shouldn't be getting played. Again, radio's a privilege. A lot of times they play records out here because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear the backlash. They don't want to hear people crying, complaining. They get a bad rap, but really, like Hot 93 plays a lot of local music, a lot.
And have put people in rotation, too.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, I can, every single day of the week, you can turn on the radio and you will hear 5 to 7 indie records a day. Every single day, 365 days a year. So, and they've taken Mook and Fair, Far City, Paperboys, Tasha Makia. Like, they've put in artists in a position and given them rotation, so.
And Smooth Haynes.
Oh, yeah, Smooth, too, absolutely.
Yeah. So essentially, basically what you're saying is 937 becomes a scapegoat.
Yeah, they always become the scapegoat because, you know, an artist will turn on the radio and they hear someone else's record and they say, oh, I want to get on the radio. When, again, it's not about that. And the radio station will give you an honest shot if you're doing half of the things right. Like, if your record sounds decent and your grind is decent, the station's going to give you a shot. If you're doing all the right things, they're going to give you an even better shot. But again, they don't owe you anything. They don't have to play anybody's music. They do that because either they want to or they support you. So I think Hot gets a bad rap, man, but they really play a lot of local records and give people a lot of opportunity. But what artists have to understand is being on one station is not going to get you your deal unless it's Hot 97, or like if you're not in the top 5 market, I could get 700 spins a day in Connecticut and it wouldn't get me a deal. You know, we had to move to Boston and New York and Providence and Baltimore and D.C. and Cincinnati in order for the rest of the world to take notice.
All right, Chris Fury, New England Music Seminar 2011. If you're not here, I don't know, fire your management or something.
Yeah, definitely fire your management.
Hire him.
Kevin W. Reese.